Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, it's all about multiversal Spider-Man stuff, right? There's a lot of different Spider-Man. Today I want to talk about a Spider-Man that's not this guy or this guy. This universe has a lot of different Spider-Man, Spider-Women, or characters of that such, right? But you know how Miles Morales is like the main character of this universe? Got bitten by a spider. There's a couple Peter Parkers that we've seen. You know the Peter Parker that actually died, that Peter Parker? Miles ends up meeting, since this universe's version of Spider-Man died, Miles Morales Spider-Man pretty much replaced him in this universe. You know what I mean? As like the new Spider-Man of this universe. So like one of them is called Peter Parker and one of them is Peter B. Parker. This Peter Parker is basically just an older version of this one for the most part. This one died prematurely though. But despite this one having really low screen time, he has some decent feats I'm gonna go over in this video and analyze how strong he is. The standard stuff that we knew before, he's about 20 something years old when he's pretty much introducing himself in the movie, telling about his life and who he is as Spider-Man for us viewers, telling us his name, bitten by a radioactive spider. Just like every Spider character, he has spider sense. One could say precognition, so you can't surprise him. Like that's a common Spider-Man theme. He has this as well. One of his many abilities is that he's extremely agile on occasions like this. And just like any Spider character, he can stick to surfaces. As you can see his hand sticking here without needing no good grip. And sticking to walls here. You get the idea. Great power comes great responsibility. The Uncle Ben backstory, they pretty much briefly go over. This universe has that as well. And despite him lacking screen time, he actually has some flashy feats on screen, even with his brief appearance. And yeah, he did end up dying. But this version of Peter seemed to be pretty experienced because he stated, oh wow, he's been Spider-Man, he even stated the amount of time.
And for 10 years, I've been the one and only Spider-Man.
So yeah, he's been Spider-Man for 10 years. Fell in love with Mary Jane, you know the classic stuff. Let's analyze him though, shall we? Since he has a decent amount of experience being Spider-Man, of course he has his super suit. Like even though he was dead, we got an idea of what his gear was. We get to kind of see or get an idea of his adventures he went on because when they went into his cave, when the other Spider people wanted to see what was going on down here, you get to kind of see his lair. Matter of fact, we even get to see some suits that reminisce comics and stuff. Like if you actually read Spider-Man comics, you know that some of these suits are actually canon comic suits. Spider Armor Mark 1, higher level Iron Spider suits, Iron Spiders, one Iron Man gave him. Like there's a lot of evidence that's implied he could have went through some similar events as the comic book Spider-Man we know and love from comic book. One could say his gear is the reason why he can shoot web and use, try to be more spider-like because his name is Spider-Man. He has gear to make him able to shoot web. There's implications that this Peter Parker that died, this Spider-Man that died in this Into the Spider-Verse universe, lifted weights and trained hard to get stronger as time goes by. But how strong was he even though he lacked screen time and got taken out of the story? He can lift up humans with ease, obviously, and even lift up cars above his head. When we're talking about his physical strength, it's obvious he has super strength because you see in this occasion, we can actually see him holding two different buses on two separate arms. It's like each arm in this occasion was supporting 12 tons, one could say here. One could say he was supporting 10 plus tons on each arm. This is probably a callback to Spider-Man 2, stopping a train. You can get an idea of how strong he is by his weight set. Yeah, he has weights and he actually lifted weights. I personally love lifting weights myself, and common sense would tell you that the bigger the plate is, the heavier, right? So the smaller ones that weigh less. Why am I bringing this up? The reason why is because when we get to actually see his gear, like over here in the corner, we get to actually see what his weights look like. They imply 250 pounds per plate. So this one side of this weight or dumbbell would be like 1,000 pounds and this other side would be another 1,000. That's 2,000 pounds he can lift. And that's not even the end of it. He has weight, the smaller plates might add, and there's more than one small plate like this. Each plate being 25 tons as a bare minimum. The big ones being bigger, but we don't know by how much degree. We just know that the smaller ones are bare minimum 25 tons. It looks like there's at least 10 plates of these on each side of the bar, but we can't see the other side, but we can assume it's a similar weight, right? That's common sense, right? We can assume all this is a similar weight. It's implied that each of these plates, and I counted 10 plates, each of these plates were at least 25 tons. If these weights are actually accurate, we can assume that this Spider-Man can at least lift 500 tons. And he worked out with this. That's confirming he can at least lift 1 million pounds as a bare minimum. There was this gigantic collider. This kind of adds up with him being able to lift 500 plus tons because this big old structure, for example, like you see how small they look down here, this big old thing. Like you can see this structure in the background, like it's taking up a lot of space. You can even see it rotating right here. This big structure is rotating. This big old thing that's rotating. While he was in the middle of the fight, he was able to stop this big thing from rotating. This kind of adds up with him being able to move or lift 500 tons, stopped it. And that doesn't stop there. We know he can lift all this weight, but we also know he can use this physical strength in combat. He can punch hard too, because when a car is flying towards him, he can seriously punch it backwards. Just like how strong he is, his body can withstand similar pressure. Like he's gotten hit by the Green Goblin, cracking concrete, a Dr. Octopus, Kingpin, all of them can hit him. He can withstand it. I mean, his body can ram into a shipping container and engrave it. So would you agree, since we know his muscles and strength, and thanks to his spider-like abilities, allow him to lift over 500 tons, would you agree that his punches should be able to produce similar force, right? Like, do you believe he has the super strength to where if he was to pull up to one of these concrete bridges supporting all this weight, do you think he'd be able to punch this crap down here and break it apart with his punching power? I think that's definitely possible. Him being able to punch with 500 tons of force would definitely be able to break down the support pillars of a bridge and do destruction like this, I would say. Like, we never seen all these spider characters arm wrestle each other or nothing, but like a fair assumption would be that they're similar in fighting speed and strength. Like, if I had to make a grid, it would be something like this, with the Nor being a more realistic-ish one. Maybe he's a little bit weaker, who knows? Since he lacks screen time, one can get an idea of his fighting speed based on other spider characters, like Spider-Gwen, for example, has some flashy feats when it comes to fighting speed. Like, her web was able to outspeed a bullet. One can say his can do the same. And this kind of fighting speed, one can say if they can move their hands or fists this fast too, that could also imply why they are punching so hard. They have this kind of muscle strength along with this type of punching speed. That would kind of add more lore on why they can punch so hard. Like, just imagine for 2 seconds a fist coming at you at supersonic speed. Like, we didn't necessarily see this Spider-Man in particular due to the feat that Gwen did in Across the Spider-Verse. There's a good implication he could have copied or mimicked it as well. Remember that time in Across the Spider-Verse, the newer movie? There was this piece of this building that was falling. We see Gwen along with another spider character help slow the fall down with their web and mix with their strength. Only slowed it down. It was a struggle though. Slowed it down for a split second. But it was high difficulty and it was straining. It was 2 spider characters that did this. So one could say they could pull thousands of tons possibly with extreme difficulty or strain. Even though this is not necessarily his feat, since she's the one that did this for a temporary amount of time, who's to say if he was in the same situation, he wouldn't be able to do it too. You know what I mean? But it's up in the air. The weights of building can vary. For them to even be able to slow it down temporarily with their raw strength, this could imply spider gang characters in general can support over 1,000 tons. You know, it's just something to think about. Imagine what his punches feel like. You know what I mean? You can kind of get an idea of how hard he can hit by the villains he has to face too. Like Green Goblin, for example, even though he's way bigger than him size-wise, size means nothing, staggering him on many occasions, harming him here, who's also a being that has super strength and can lift up shipping containers, something that can weigh a couple tons or so. But at the end of the day, all of this could be just me, y'all. How strong do you think this Spider-Man is? Do you think he can punch a building down or punch the things that's supporting the building and tilt it? What do you think? Do you think he can withstand the building landing on him? What do you think? I want to hear your thoughts below. Respect this version of Spider-Man. May he rest in peace, though. But before I get going, thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect them. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.